Hello everyone, warm welcome to your decoding of the ET Wealth newspaper. I'm Priyanka Bhatia from Women on Wealth and this is our episode number 84. So it's over 42 weeks that we've been committed that you learn how to decode a finance newspaper, a newspaper on wealth economy, so that you can be smart with your investments and be a wealth creator in the true sense. So let's get started, guys. This is how the ED Wealth looks for today. Hey Lit, welcome. And there are various kinds of news articles in this ED Wealth this time. One of them is on the voluntary provident fund and how government is now putting taxes after the limit of 2.5 lakh in deposits is crossed in VPF. So it's a big question mark if people will choose VPF, voluntary provident fund, as an investment or not, and there are various views given on it. Kavneet, hi, welcome. Let's see more. So one of the cover story actually is on that voluntary provident fund. Another one is on real estate investments. Dhirendra Kumar on page number 7 is talking about inflation and the investment lessons to be learnt from inflation. And I'm going to look at the last paragraph, which is actually the summary of the entire thing. Prerna, Ridhima, good morning. So he is mentioning talking about an investment, okay guys, which was made in a piece of land 25 years ago. And he is mentioning that the land, it feels that it has grown worth 40 times as much. And then he is mentioning that the rupee is worth 1/10 of what it was 25 years ago. So if the rupee value is 1/10, then actually it may look in absolute terms to us that okay, the land value has grown by 40 times. But actually in 25 years, the land value has only grown by 4 times because the rupee became 1/10 of the value. So he's explaining that, and he's saying how we measure everything in absolute terms. And as far as intelligent investing, knowledgeable investing goes, it is a good exercise in understanding the real impact of inflation. So we got to be aware of the inflation and its real impact on your savings and investments. The segregation of the 40x into a 4x rise in the land value and the 10x decline in the value of rupee is hard to do instinctively, but is in fact the key to making good investment decisions. The safety versus returns dichotomy of so many investments that people make all the time looks very different when you subtract the inflation rate from the investments. And I often ask people that okay, you're thinking that this investment is safe. Yes, it might be keeping your money as is, like from the, absolute numbers point of view, you may feel that yes, our money is growing. But actually, if you deduct the real, the rate of return you're generating from the inflation rate, then you will get to if there is any real rate of return that you're truly generating from your investments. So that's how it works. Yeah. So safety investments actually do not even manage to completely compensate for the inflation rate. So every time, guys, you're doing an LIC investment, any post office investment, any investment in the bank, you need to ask yourself, am I really truly generating returns? Am I really making money? Because unless you make a real rate of return, the money is not growing and you're not reaching your goals. So the most important part for you to note is that, am I really truly making returns or not? So that's what the article on Dhiren Kumar is, and it's a good article on inflation and how we investors need to be aware of it. Oh, Ridhima, you've sent us some 45 stars. Okay, thank you for making us the star of the morning. Got that. Absolutely, thank you. Namita, Rajeshwari, Sonika, Beena, Neelu, Natasha, Bindu, Hira, welcome everyone. So this is the first article that I spoke about on inflation. There is another article on page number 8 which is talking about how the number of investors, retail investors in the country increased when the market slipped and then it bounced back. So there are, actually it's saying that the number of retail investors have doubled. And with the doubling of this, of course, the stock market is further going to rise, because if more people participate and there is more money which is put into the market, then there is even a higher probability of it going up. It's a simple demand supply situation. The demand rises, the market will rise. So that's another article on page number 8. And page number 14, Uma Shashikant is talking about estate planning. And one article that I would like to put your attention on is this article. Okay, I'm going to show you guys this. Okay, can I change my spouse's money personality? So this is a very good article, and I thought that today we could decode this article in detail and actually talk about some actions that we can take on, okay, in our lives. So let's talk about that. Shraddha, hi, welcome. So I'm going to decode this article. Take some pen, papers, everyone, and start making notes. While it may be difficult to completely alter a person's money attitudes, imposing financial discipline can help change some habits. So we can impose some financial discipline in our lives and can change some habits. Among the worst irritants in married life is financial incompatibility. How often have you fought over your spouse's impulse purchases or extravagant shopping? How frequently do you rant about your husband's lack of communication about financial transactions? Are you constantly in a tiff over your wife's risk-averse investment choices? When these personal financial choices begin to have an impact on your goals or the monthly budget, it leads to spats that can widen enough to cause a split. Before you reach the point where it's impossible to turn back, try to find a solution so that it not only secures your financial future, but also makes your relationship more amicable. So, guys, if you notice, divorce rates are increasing. And most divorces, many of them, they are reporting that it is because of the difficulty in financial communication. There is financial incompatibility. And that's one of the main reasons for it. So today, let's really begin to deep dive on some actions that we can take starting today. So number one is identify all irritants and consequences. So identify, start writing down what is irritating you about your spouse, okay, as far as finances are concerned. Example, he spends a lot. Example, he is not present to when he's spending money, or he's an impulsive spender, or he is investing without informing me, or what else? What else could be the irritants? Any ideas, guys, that you can give? What are the various irritants? Okay, it could be yours, it could be your friends, it could be anybody. So just start sharing ideas on what are the different things which could be irritating you or irritating you can see that they are irritating your friends. So just start typing them. So I'm reading further. First step is to identify all the friction points. Instead of extrapolating your irritation over one habit, it is better to sit down, list all the money related issues you have with your spouse. Yeah, so Neelu is sharing, lazy investor, not coming back to check the investments. That's something which might be irritating her, or it's a thing that she's seen among couples. Beautiful, Rajeshwari, not willing to discuss anything about money and investments. That's irritating, right? And there is a consequence. So when somebody is not willing, or not someone, when actually your spouse is not willing to discuss about money and investments, it has an impact, right? The direct consequence is on your goals. Absolutely. When somebody is a lazy investor, he or she, they're not coming back to checking what's happening with their investments. It is impacting their goals because they don't know if they're generating the returns as per the financial plan, if they're going to make it to the goal, is there a course correction needed, what's happening, all of that. Yeah, not giving his rationale behind doing something around money. That could be irritating. So these are all various things that we are identifying. Okay, so we need to sit down, start listing the money related issues we have with our spouse. If you have more, list them down now, guys. It will give you clarity. Okay, because we are practically doing it then. More importantly, list the adverse impact that these irritants can have on your finances. So now if you've, like 2-3 of you have identified what is irritating you, okay, as far as finances are concerned with your spouse, now start writing what's the impact of these irritants on your finances, or both of your finances, family's finances. It could be short-term impact, it could be a long-term impact. Having to ask for every little thing around money again and again. Yes, Hira. So that could be irritating if I need to just keep asking, or if I have to take permission for everything I need to be doing. That's irritating, and there is a consequence. In the short term, there is a consequence because we're irritated. In the long term, there is a consequence. So guys, start writing. What is the consequence you can see? Okay, what's the impact? For instance, if your spouse insists on investing only in risky avenues and your financial goal is very close, pen down the consequence of not having enough money for that goal. And always we've been talking about never take on risky, volatile investments like mutual funds or stocks for short-term goals. These are not the right picks. So the impact is not having money for that short-term goal. Similarly, if your partner does not tell you anything about the investments he's making, note down what will happen if he was to pass away suddenly. Yeah. So changing husband seems simple, then changing habits, got that, Ridhima? Yes. No clarity on the big picture of where we stand as a family in terms of our finances. Yes. And what's the impact when, Rajeshwari, you don't have clarity on the big picture of where you stand as a family? Then what's the impact? Neelu, don't have clarity on the future. It's actually scary when both are unclear, and that has often led us to be duped. Yeah. Not having enough clarity of the future. Is that bringing in fear? Okay. Is this unclarity bringing in the fear of uncertainty, fear of the future? Okay. We got to figure that. What's the fear? Is there a fear? Is there anxiousness? Is there anxiety? Okay. My English is really amazing. So anxiety. Is the anxiety where I am? Am I worried? Is my child not going to have enough money for his or her education? Will we have to take a loan? And then there is a worry of paying that loan from the future income. Huh? So now that's the impact that you guys are. So first step, look at what is irritating you about your spouse, about his or her financial habits. Number two, look at what are the consequences of that. Okay? If things continue the way they are, what's the consequence of it? And then it is, like my mentor used to say, or still says, am I willing to be responsible for these consequences? If I'm not willing to be responsible for these consequences, then what's that new future I want to build? And that's what you got to talk about. And if you want to build a new future, this default future which is anyways coming, you don't want that in your relationship, because also people fall apart when, the irritants are too many, and that's also a consequence. Next step is talk, talk, talk. So once both of you have your list in place, you will need to sit down, talk about the conflict points. Each of the partners can take turns explaining what irritates one about the other's financial habit or trait, and how it can impact your finances, or how your children can suffer because of insufficient funds. If both agree to compromise, it will be important to give each other time to change, because habits cannot be altered overnight. And guys, this is a red flag for everyone. There can be a meeting, you guys can talk. At the same time, there can be promises which can be made, but expecting somebody to take a U-turn all of a sudden, not possible. You'll have to nurture the person. I know, we are a team, and we had certain habits in the team which were not supporting us in reaching the mission at Women on Wealth. And we had to constantly nurture each other in the team to align our actions and our habits to reach the goals. So there is constant nurturing needed in the relationship. Don't think it's just a one-time activity. Constant nurturing will lead to altering the habits. And yes, it might be you who has to lead the way. Okay, and that's why we invite you to constantly engage with us, be active here in the community, learn, grow, and try and implement as much. Because just reading is not enough. Decoding and implementing is far more important. Okay. So one of the partners, if your partner is not willing to have a conversation, then you need to try to seek support. I don't know, maybe a family, psychologist, friend. Somewhere you need to bring about the support. Some of our community members are also playing the decodings on loudspeaker in their houses, so that, the other family members see that, okay, you're really committed, and they are drawn to working on their money lives with you. That's the whole partnership. Also, you need to look at if the issue is deep rooted. I have seen people who will have difficult childhoods, and then simply by spending money, they are bringing comfort to their lives. Or some money is being spent in addiction. Okay, because they are constantly seeking that comfort which may come. It could be a food addiction, alcohol, drugs, anything. So we may need to go a little in the background to see the spouse's upbringing. Which kind of household he or she is coming from. Because that truly impacts the habits they have. So this is more deep rooted. It is not just about he's not investing money right, or he's investing and hiding, or he's not sharing where he's spending money. It is much deeper. These habits are coming from a past that he has had, and it's important to understand that past patiently and sit down rationally to look at what needs to be done now. One of the biggest tips I can give everyone is, the moment you attach emotions, it's going to go everywhere. The moment you become rational about the situation, you're going to make headway. And the biggest thing in a relationship is, can I detach my emotions and speak in a very, very rational way to them? Okay. Neelu, you're currently playing it as always. Okay. You're on the loudspeaker. So, while discussing the financial issues, it is important to understand whether the problem is more deep-seated than a habit. For instance, if your partner had an impoverished childhood or his parents suffered massive losses in the market, he is likely to be an extravagant spender or risk-averse when it comes to investments. For deeper psychological issues, it is best to contact a therapist before you focus on a financial plan. So I always feel like, when you're headed for a divorce or a separation, you must be financially educated. If you're facing difficulty in your family around finances, you must be financially educated. And if you're not facing any difficulty, you must be financially educated so that you can grow your finances with ease. Either way, how I see is financial education is the key, and financial consciousness is a big, big milestone to be reached. Awareness is the key, everyone. Guys, could you start typing, what are you getting? Okay, because we tried to do it practically. So, what are you getting, everyone? Please start typing. And are you going to make a list, attempt to have a conversation with your husband? If it's difficult, then, take support from me or the Women on Wealth team. Yeah, Veena, financial education is the key. Absolutely. There is no doubt about that. Financial education is the key. And many, many reasons and circumstances and situations will come in our way. And who we need to be in the process is somebody who's unstoppable. That's the key, everyone. Okay, what else, guys? Prerna, you love today's discussion. Got that. What are you taking away? Sonika, if you have to take a lead in a relationship regarding money, you really, really need to be financially aware. You have to constantly upskill yourself. Yes, it's like washing dishes. It's like brushing your teeth. Every day we do it. Neelu, your newfound gyan, working on your partner and with him. Yes. To realize your long-term money goal. Absolutely, Neelu. Rajeshwari, with respect to discussion with spouse on our finances, identify the irritants, talk about it, lead the way. Yeah, and nurture the partner. Rajeshwari, actually it just doesn't go with spouse, it goes with everybody. Anything. You got to just keep nurturing people, and over time things really, really alter. Just reading is not enough. Discuss, implement. Discuss, implement, discuss, implement. Yes, Hira, absolutely. Implementation is the key at Women on Wealth, if you guys notice. In our courses, you notice that there is very little gyan and there is more focus on implementing stuff, because only when we are in action do results get produced. So yeah, that's the hallmark at Women on Wealth, because I am, somebody who's into execution, nothing else. Being rational and keeping emotions out of it can go a long way. Yes, Natasha. Financial education is so super important that people should be talking about it more as a day-to-day activity. Yes, it's a daily activity. So spread the word. Prerna, especially love the part where we are encouraged to be rational and not emotional. Yes. Yeah, we are all emotional beings, and it's critical that we remind ourselves to be rational. Neelu, bang on, nurture the partner, not make him feel guilty. No, that's not the point, right? I mean, life is so short to actually get into all this. Let's have some fun. Lead by example, nurture the relationship. Only knowledge without application is no use. There are so many books. There is no need of Women on Wealth if only knowledge was enough. So I wouldn't say that knowledge is power. Knowledge combined with effective implementation, execution is power. On this note, guys, closing the live, I trust we added value to you. If you got some value, spread the work. Spread about Women on Wealth. Talk with your friends and family about it. We are bringing a new batch of Money Gym on March 27th. If you want to review the Money Gym course, go ahead, come in. The group coaching begins on March 27th. If you have women in your life, please spread the word. Let them know that Women on Wealth and financial education is available and that they can access it truly and live the life that they got. Okay, Natasha, example of compound interest inflation to all your loved ones. Okay, you share the examples. Also, who you meet, your crazy spenders, and it is a shocker for them. So many have started investing now. Okay, just because you are a Women on Wealth investor, no giving tips. Okay, no building financially dependent people around you. Give them the gift of financial education and let them do it on their own. On this note, guys, closing the live, please share about Women on Wealth. Loads of love. Take charge. Stay safe. Bye-bye.